Hi guys, as the Tory leadership race now comes down to members, and we know that people who have signed up as a Conservative are further to the right than your average MP, the main topic of discussion will of course be immigration. Robert Jenrick was challenged on this when he appeared at the GB News debate, where it was put to him that net migration rose when he was at the Home Office as a minister. Jenrick put on his angry face and claimed that he was more upset than anyone else and resigned over the matter. He then made a ridiculous promise to reduce the numbers of people coming to Britain. Have a listen to this.
On migration there, on net migration, on your watch, ballooned. I mean, you made a stand over Rwanda, but you oversaw huge increases in net migration. You broke that manifesto promise. It helped reform win those votes.
Well, look, Chris, I am as angry and frustrated about that as anyone else. Ultimately, that's why I chose to resign as Minister from the Cabinet at the time. And I fought relentlessly to secure the biggest changes to our legal migration system in decades. They will reduce the number of people coming into this country by 300,000 every year, and you're just starting to see that come through in the figures, but I don't think that's enough. This is putting massive pressure on housing, on public services, on community cohesion. We're not the united country that I want us to be, and that's why I say there's a very clear choice. Let's cap the numbers coming into our country.
To what level again?
I would do the tens of thousands or lower. And
the tens of thousands or lower? What, less than 10,000 people would be allowed to come into Britain? There is 150,000 shortage in the NHS. I think it's another 100,000 in social care. And this guy is talking about reducing immigration to less than tens of thousands. This is insane. Now, this, of course, is insanity directed at the insane wing of the Conservative Party. The crazies in the Conservative Party want somebody who's crazy like them. And Robert Jenrick is playing as much as he can to them. Would he bring down immigration? Probably not. It all hinges on whether they actually believe him or not. But it would be a stupid idea. There's a massive shortage of workers, and that's just in the care sector and the NHS. There's a whole range of sectors that need workers. And he's talking about tens of thousands or less.
And the most important point is we've got to get Parliament to do this so that we can look the public in the eye this time and say it's actually going to happen.
But you know really well, don't you, the Treasury, the departments will say we need public sector workers to be in our hospitals, our care homes. They'll make their case to increase that level above 10,000. I mean, you're just saying this to win these guys' support, aren't you?
No, Chris, I've been saying this for months, for years. This is why I resigned from the Cabinet. I wrote a 100-page report on this earlier in the year.
You resigned over illegal migration, not legal migration.
I resigned over both, Chris. Because
You resigned because you're a charlatan and an opportunist. That's why you resigned. Now, notice he dodged the question here about, look, the government need workers. The state needs workers. The country needs workers. And you're talking about closing the border. You're talking about shutting Britain off. How are you supposed to grow the economy if you don't have workers?
I think we are losing the public's trust. We've lost the public's trust on this issue. And I wasn't willing to be just another minister who makes and breaks promises on immigration. And I don't want our party to keep making and breaking promises. Because frankly, there's no future for our party unless we fix this issue. Get back the reform voters we've lost. That's why I say, you've got to end the drama. You've got to end the excuses and actually deliver on immigration.
On your watch, £8 million a day on hotels for migrants arriving here illegally? And that's outrageous, right?
It's a disgrace, Chris. I felt as angry as anyone else about that. I know those communities. You know, they are in the places I represent, the place I grew up. We've got to change. That's why I started to close the hotels. And you see what Labour have done today. They've said that they're going to procure more of the hotels because instead of strengthening the Rwanda scheme like I wanted, they scrapped it altogether. They've left us completely at the mercy now of the people smuggling gangs. The only barrier of people coming to our country is the weather in the English Channel. That is wrong. We have to be different, have a clear policy, hold the Labour Party to account, and regain the public's trust.
Okay, look, I admit, he's a very good speaker. It's just what he says is absolute tripe. So he mentioned here, of course, We need to win back Reform UK voters. So this is once again a pitch to the far right of the Conservative Party and people who are sitting on the fence thinking, maybe I should actually join Reform UK. Maybe I should, give Nigel Farage my vote. And the Conservatives seem to think that they need to win these people back and not focus on Labour. They lost most of their support to Labour, not to Reform UK. But they still don't seem to understand that. They lost the election because they didn't focus on the economy. They didn't focus on the NHS. But they still think immigration is the priority. Look, I understand that in order to win over the crazies of the Conservative Party, you have to speak their language. But is this what he's going to do? Because a lot of crazy people are in the Conservative Party, but not all of them are stupid. They understand that you're going to pivot after. You're going to try and move back to the centre. Because he's not a traditional far-right Conservative. He was a moderate. He was a Remainer. I think there's a lot of distrust towards him. And even if he's good at speaking, I think a lot of Conservative members are not going to buy this. And they're more likely to switch. If they haven't switched their vote, they're likely to switch their vote to Kemi Badenoch. She's more authentic. She's a headbanger. She's crazy. She's far right, but she's authentic. She's somebody who has been consistent. So I think the Conservative members are more likely to back Kemi Badenoch. Robert Jenrick is good at talking, but he's not good at walking. And he has this, I think, this albatross around his neck of immigration. He can say, well, I walked away, I resigned out of principle. But at the end of the day, if you were responsible for high immigration levels, I don't think that's a problem. But for the crazies in the Conservative Party, they do think it's a problem, and it's a game changer for them. If you don't support this policy of bringing down immigration, they're not going to back you. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.